Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Generation Red, the kettle corn of Husker Fan Podcast, where we try to be sweet, but at times we get salty. I am one of your hosts, Ken.
Hey, folks, it's Scott.
And it's Justin bringing it in with the hydration. Oh, let me get that face. Super hydrated.
Pedialyte for those who are listening.
I'm hydrating too. I've got Mick Ultra Zero. So
let's go.
Beer-flavored water. It's awesome.
Hydrated, ready to rock.
That's right. Absolutely. We are ready to rock. Unfortunately, we're coachless at this point in the podcast. We're not sure if he's going to dip in or not. He's got a sick kid and a sick wife at home. So hopefully he will hop in here in a little bit. It's like we told him in our text chat, needs to rub some dirt on it, give him a bell, something like that. If they need to ring it and get him in there, then fine. But otherwise, his priority should be here, right?
Yeah,
I mean, family, he should be on the pod.
My wife would 100% totally understand if I said, I cannot tend to you right now. I got more important things to worry about, like this show.
Yes, my wife would feel the same way. She would actually go a step further and say, you know what, how about I take care of you and bring you stuff and food and drinks and all that.
Scott's a lucky
because I'm sick.
Yeah. Yes.
That's how it should go.
Well, the other Dave is drinking Jack and RC Cola, which to me is just a mixture waiting for gas. Just spells gas all over it because RC is hideous. But
shout out to RC, bro. Hey, I grew up poor, bro. RC was my jam. Outside of the Sam's Club.
I did like RC Cola. I haven't had one in a long time. I had a Mr. Pibb recently, and I forgot how good that is.
That reminds me of an old Mitch Hedberg joke. He said, Mr. Pibb is a replica of Dr. Pepper. It is a bullshit replica because dude didn't even get his degree.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that one's good.
That's good. Mitch Hedberg had some good one-liners.
Favorite comedian of all time. R.I.P.
Oh, such a legend. Yeah, I'm sipping on that stuff that we had when you stopped by the other day to add that oatmeal brown, non-alcoholic oatmeal brown.
I need to try that next time I'm over for sure. Or go find it. Where'd you find it? Like Hy-Vee or something?
Yeah, I found it at Hy-Vee, but it wasn't in the refrigerator. It was like in the section where they have like the NA like liquor and wine and stuff. It was on the shelf.
So it wasn't in the cooler then. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't in the cooler.
All
so
right.
I was like, oh, this is crazy. There was a whole different selection of NA beers I've never seen before. There was other good ones to choose from, but I like the dark beers.
The other Dave, I'm with him.
That porter was good too.
I'm with the other Dave there. RC, I think if people do the blind taste test, I think it levels out. I was always a Pepsi guy. Coke was last for me always.
Coke has really grown on me in recent years. I've simplified.
I can't drink sodas at all anymore, but I used to drink a 2-liter a day when I was growing up.
It's my selfish pleasure.
I might have a soda for a treat here and there, but every time I do, it's like my stomach goes, "Oh, this is gross." So, water and fake beer is basically my hydration these days.
It's good.
Talking about hydration, let's talk about the fact that Nebraska is 5-1. Second year in a row, they've started off the first 6 games 5-1. And my feeling is going into the next set of games that we're not going to sit here and sweat for 4 games in a row to see if they get bowl eligible like we did last year. I think that's coming, and I think that's coming Friday night, which is a little bit of foreshadowing on what we're going to talk about later, which is previewing the Minnesota game. But right now, let's just hop into what we thought overall on the Maryland game, excuse me. But before we do that, real quick, you can follow us on Facebook, X, and YouTube at Gen Red Pod. Our podcast is Generation Red on Apple, Google, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app, just in case you prefer to listen to your podcast rather than watch us on YouTube. The website is genredpod.com. Email is genredpod.com at gmail.com, and that QR code that just popped up in the right corner of your screen, you can scan that with your phone. That'll take you directly to our merch site, or just go to genredpod.com if you're listening to this on the podcast and click on the link at the top of the page. I think that pretty much covers most of the, I already said that. Cool. We want your opinion during the show, of course, so make sure you sound off in the live chat or drop a comment down below if you watch this later on demand. And the question tonight, besides Minnesota and Maryland, is RC Cola, Pepsi, or Coke? Throw your vote in the live chat. We'd love to hear that response too. And if you answer anything but Coke, I will disown that you're a fan of the show. So RC, all right, whatever. I have to accept Justin because you're on the show.
Sorry, Justin, you're
Except
just
your opinion
on.
is valid.
More people. RC is where it's at.
I think it might have just permanently altered taste buds. I think that's what happened.
Could have. It could
Like-
be radioactive.
Like, I don't think there's anybody out there that says, man, Faygo, that's like my favorite soda, unless
If I could
their taste buds were changed by it growing up.
If I could be completely honest, I don't remember what any of them taste like.
The Faygo?
Wow.
No, the RC Coke versus Pepsi.
Oh, yeah.
I just remember drinking Pepsi with chocolate donuts, and like every morning that would be when I would head to school, when I would drive to high school, I would get a Pepsi and a thing of chocolate donuts, and that was like my breakfast. Champion
Wow.
right there. Yeah.
And then
Did you end up
falling asleep
getting
in bed
promoted?
with first period?
Yeah. Right. Sugar
Did you do
crash.
cigarettes and a Monster when you were in?
No, never smoked, but Monster was definitely. Yeah. I listen, I needed some blood for my caffeine when I was in the military.
Yeah, it was. I'm surprised I don't have like serious like heart problems.
I took 4 caffeine pills at one time. That's 800 milligrams of caffeine.
Jeez,
I was taking 3 and 4 at a time. Yeah, I was 18, dumb, 19. I was like, my heart's fine, guys. It won't explode at 19.
Do you remember the brief period of Monster where you could get the BFC?
Yeah, the one, the huge can where it's like the spin top.
Yeah, the big effing can.
Yeah, and I would always just chew the little blue thing that was under the lid.
Of course you did.
On those,
yeah, with your ADHD brain, you got to sit there and munch on it.
100%, dude. I got chewed up bottle caps all over.
Can't relate. No ADHD on this guy.
Lucky.
It might be late onset with all the shit I keep doing on my phone all the time when I'm trying to watch TV. You know. Moonbot says, "Howdy nerds, howdy Moonbot. Good to see you, buddy.
Brother.
Good to see the other Dave. Husker Power GBR. They don't even have RC in Nebraska. That's right, because we're a good state.
Skill issue.
Yeah. And of course,
probably why I haven't had it in a while.
They all taste better with Jack. Well,
true.
This is true, but Jack tastes better with Jack. Just throw ice, man. That's
Baskin.
So
welcome to the live.
Back in the day, anyway. All right, so let's jump in. Let's start with, if there was a main takeaway you could take away from the game on Saturday, kind of an overarching thought that you have from Saturday's game, starting with you, Scott. What would it be?
It would be that, yeah, our secondary is good, but once they're actually playing up against a good quarterback with a good wide receiver room, they definitely got a little bit of a bigger challenge. I mean, they threw for 249 passing yards, so that was really the difference in the game was their proficiency passing the ball. I will give a disclaimer, though, to those who are listening. I never ended up watching the game. I watched highlights, and I got about halfway through the first quarter rewatching the game, and life has just been busy. So I only listened to the game. And yes, I was out camping, so I can't give an actual what did I see. So I will have to rely on you guys. There we go. I had to get my hands right. I have to rely on you guys. What did you guys see? I'm just looking at the stats. From what I heard and what I can see in the stats, passing game definitely gave us a little bit more hell than we've seen this year. So, yeah.
Did you see the tweet out there, Justin? I think it was during the game or right after the game, and this perfectly explains it for me. It said, somebody said, real simple, one sentence. It says, "Wow, this Raiola coaster is fun to ride, isn't it?"
I did see that. I actually appreciated that joke. That was
like, yes,
good pun.
It was.
I appreciated that joke.
It was, because there was a lot of ups and there was a lot of downs, stomach dropping passes, and yeah, it was something else. Justin, overall takeaway for you as well.
I think there's a double-edged sword here, because what I anticipated happening, based on my score prediction, it went a little different. However, it's a little bit different in the Michigan State game. I was very disappointed in that game. This game, I was disappointed at the lack of consistency, kind of like I talked about the middle of the game, but that was overshadowed by the win in this instance. Reason being, this one was a little bit different than the Michigan State in the fact that Michigan State would have been a game. Yeah, and I know people said about this game, this has been a game that we normally would have lost, but this wouldn't have just been a game that we normally lost. This would have been a game that we normally lost by multiple scores.
Yeah.
We would have as soon as things started to go off of the rails, they would have went off the rails, and we might have maybe made it a one-score game on the back end by trying to come back late. But this one to me was a momentum building win, even though it didn't have the consistency throughout that I wanted to see, because it's lightning in a bottle towards the end of that game. And the momentum you can build from this game, like the feeling coming out of this game versus the Michigan State game from the players in the locker room, is that of something you can build from. It's a spark that you can build off of, because that win felt good. The Michigan State game, I still felt a little bit dirty about that win, because I felt like we should have. I just did not like the way we played in that game at all. I didn't. I was upset about that game. This one, totally different. Even though we didn't cover, I feel like there is nuance in the subject, and I just feel like this is a good win to build from. And finally, this is the one, like, I know we've said, like, oh, this team's learning how to win. Like, this, to me, is the first time that I've said this team has learned how to win because of the manner in which they came back in that last drive. Raiola showed the ability to have a short memory. He made some errant throws, some terrible throws, but he had a short memory, and he was making some money throws when it mattered. He doesn't get down on himself. His confidence is what allows him to get right back on the field and reset mentally, not go out and make the same mistake. Now, he may make a different mistake later in the game, but it doesn't seem to compound like it has in the past. Nebraska is able to pull themselves out in this game and get some momentum where they didn't have none. And that was a good feeling. So that's kind of my overall takeaway. Also, the offensive line play, improving the way they played towards the end of the Michigan State game and into that Maryland game. They're kind of starting to find a way to run this offense to really make this offensive line look a lot better. So yeah, overall, I felt pretty good about that.
Yes, for me, the main takeaway I took from this game was, and I said it to Levi Scott as you sit next to me watching the game, when we got to the end and they threw that final pass that Deshaun Singleton knocked away, I looked at Levi and I said, we just won this game the exact same way a lot of teams have beaten us in the past 4 or 5 years at the very end, where they've got the opportunity to go down the field and score on a tired defense. Because let's be honest, after giving up 176 yards to Emmett Johnson, those dudes were tired. And I think Nebraska was able to engineer that last drive. Number one, we've got a great quarterback to do it. Number two, we have some receivers that are going to go get those 50-50 balls and going to pull in those one-handed catches and are going to make that toe tap catch on the sideline like Harburg did, which, good Lord, talk about most improved player who just switched positions. Heinrich's got my vote all day long, and he's only going to keep getting better for the rest of the season. But yeah, for me, it's just all about the fact that Nebraska took that game just like other teams have come into Memorial or other places that we have gone and played, and they've, at the end of the fourth quarter, come and taken the game away from us in very similar fashion. So I think you're right, Justin. I think you're right too, Scott. There's a different mindset. This is a different football team. A lot of the same names on the back of the jerseys, but it's a different football team. And I think a lot of that shows through in leadership, the leadership from the top on down. What Rule expected from day one is coming to fruition in year 3. And that's really, I think, part of the Rule print, if you will, that caused him to win 10 and 11 games at Temple and Baylor in his third and sometimes fourth years in the case of Temple. So that's my main takeaway. Let's jump into some more micro sides of the game and start with some of the things. If there was a good thing that you saw, a good tendency that you saw in the game, and let's just say we can't pick Emmett Johnson. What else was there in that game that you saw that was good? Offense, defense, that really stood out to you?
Well, I just want to piggyback on what you guys were both saying there. I think the thing that I mentioned after Cincinnati, and you guys gave me a little bit of a hard time, rightfully so. You gave me a hard time because I was like, okay, we got a 1-score win. Awesome. But I remember saying specifically that what I want to see from this team is when we're behind and we need to put together a game-winning drive where we're able to go down the field and just put together that 2-minute drill that is practiced all the time. Like, you got to go down and you got to make something happen. And you see Raiola do that insane, weird, falling, losing his balance and chucking it down to his guy and gets it to him. We did exactly what I was hoping to see. The good that I am just so happy to see is, we put together a game-winning drive and then sealed it up with a minute left with that Deshaun Singleton pass breakup. I could go on individual efforts, but like I said, I just watched highlights. I just listened to the game. And so from what I was hearing was, wow, this is a team that didn't give up. There were many, many moments where they could have given up and they didn't. But I'd say that, the hearing the play call with the Emmett Johnson run, that like it just was and then I watched the highlights and it's like, oh man, this is like watching Amir Abdullah. This is reminiscent of some of the talent that we had just in the last 10, 15 years that we haven't seen. So that's something that I really liked. One of the good things, one of the many good things.
Yeah, I think finding balance in this offense, and so not really, it's kind of along the lines of the Emmett, but not really. It's just more so this offense being a more balanced attack and being successful with both of those will really help kind of the weaknesses of this team, which were, the pass rushes that were getting on to us. I said the one way that we can prevent that is to run the ball effectively, put the defense on their heels, not let them pin their ears back and go. This at least makes it to where teams have to respect that aspect of it and could potentially, make defenses stay a little bit more at home the more that this offense kind of gets the run game going more consistently and balance in this offensive line if they continue to play the way that they have been in building momentum. But yeah, for the first time, I felt like this might be a momentum improving when, especially on the offensive line, I think they're starting to get a little bit of confidence. And I just think another good, the individual contributors, just you had multiple players step up at multiple times where, before we're like, in the previous seasons, I've always asking myself, like, who's going to step up? Like, we have no go-to guy. Like, who's going to be able to step up in this moment? Now we have multiple people rising to the occasion at different times. And it's nice to see that throughout the game. It's more of a team effort in these wins. And I appreciate having multiple transfers coming in and doing their I don't know why my camera went out, but multiple transfers coming in and making their mark known.
We have a talking Jay in the stream.
Weird. Like
one of those days.
I literally just clicked my camera button again. It popped back on. It made no sense.
Always technical difficulties.
It just literally shut off for no reason.
It was done. Yeah. It was done. You've had too much.
You mentioned, Justin, the offensive consistency and the offensive balance, quite frankly, is the good that I'm going to pick out. And even though I said we weren't necessarily going to zero in on Emmett, I want to zero in on Dana Holgerson and the fact that we attempted 29 passes and 30 rushing attempts.
Yeah.
I'll take that all day long. You generate almost 500 yards of offense as a result, now 440 yards of offense as a result. And I would dare to say that you remove the 3 turnovers off the board and the 17 points that those generated for Maryland, and this could have been a game that they really did put up a big yardage number. So the potential was there. So that's the good I saw, was that if Dylan bounces back, throws 4 TD passes in spite of 3 interceptions, he's still 16 touchdowns to 5 interceptions on the year, which is a pretty dang good.
Yeah.
I think that's the ratio we would have been pretty tickled with at the beginning of the season. So,
I remember saying 3-1.
Yeah, exactly. Going into next week, I think he's going in there with a lot of confidence.
You want to hear a fun stat fact?
Go for it.
So even with Raiola's 3 interceptions, comparatively to Malik Washington, Dylan Raiola still came out with a higher quarterback rating.
Not surprising.
Pretty cool.
Yep.
Very cool, for certain. So any other good you guys want to point out before we move on to the other side of the coin, which I think we're all going to be on the same page. It was the 3 INTs and maybe a little bit too soft on the zone, but any other good things?
Special teams, 85-yard kickoff return that if he would have just, I mean, obviously there's always shoulda, woulda, coulda, but if he would have taken at an angle heading towards the end zone, a corner of the end zone, I think he might have outran that guy and got in for a tutty.
Scholarship earning return.
Yes.
That was a cool video.
Yeah, it was.
Mike Eckler has just got these dudes locked in, and I love to see every moment of it. Gosh, it feels so good to have good special teams. I just have to
Kick a field goal is nice.
What is this? Nice. What is that? We have lived without this for too long. I don't.
Winning us games, literally winning us games.
Yes, absolutely
winning us games, and I'm not scared when the field goal team trots out there or the extra point team trots out there that the long snapper is going to send it somewhere other than the person holding the kick. You know,
I feel good about it. It's weird to feel confident in it. It's like I'm
waiting for something good to happen.
Well, it's like it's like I expect it, and then I'm like, I shouldn't expect this, and then it goes in, and I'm like, oh, well, I need to stop. Like, and it's reinforcing my expectation. So I'm going to be really disappointed and lose and crash out when we finally miss one and overreact.
Yeah.
So.
How could he miss it?
Yeah. I'm just playing.
Yeah. I'm with you. All right. Here it is. We got to talk it. We got to flip the page a little bit, talk about the things we saw in the game that weren't so good, things we'd like to see change. For me, it's obvious. The first thing that comes to mind is can't have the quarterback throwing 3 interceptions and expect to win. We did on Saturday. That was a team win. Those guys pulled together, got it done, got the job done, won late, which was awesome. But odds are if you're going to throw 3 picks, you're not going to win a lot of football games. So we need to get Dylan to shore that up, get his decision-making set right. I think that second one was supposed to go out of bounds, and somehow it ended up I thought he was throwing that one away.
Yeah, I did too.
It looked like it in the highlights.
Yeah, I just don't think he got it far enough.
Yep, I think you're right. And then I don't know, Justin, what did you see on the pass coverage for Nebraska? For me, it looked like we were just playing. We weren't playing a whole lot of man that I saw. Or was I crazy?
Especially there towards the end, they were trying to keep everything in front of them. So yeah, it was some really, really soft zones out there. I think the biggest thing is just trying to prevent any explosive plays and feel like they felt like if they forced their quarterback to make as many throws as possible, eventually you're going to make him make mistakes. So keep everything in front of you. And I just felt like at times we played a little too soft, and especially there towards the end of the game.
Yeah. And you're listening to the game that you pull kind of out.
My bad, by the way. My bad though is third down.
Go ahead.
Third down. 7-15, I believe they were on third down. So we got to get off the field on third down. That does need to improve.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the theme of when I was listening to the game, where it's like, yeah, third down efficiency was pretty bad. Yeah, just listening to the game, it sounded like a much worse game than when I watched the highlights and kind of scroll on Twitter.
If you check Twitter in the third quarter, you thought we were down by
getting smoked
47.
I checked it afterwards as if I had reception. I had very little reception. Turns out I could have watched the game on YouTube TV with better efficiency than the actual Husker radio website for some reason. And then I was out.
YouTube TV's got way more money to make a more efficient product.
Yeah, it was like I could have just turned the TV down to like, 240p, and it would have been basically the same, or it would have been better somehow. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things we could point out that wasn't great. I think we've already kind of covered them, though. Yeah, you can't be throwing 3 interceptions in a game. We got lucky in a few ways, but yeah, I mean, if since I haven't watched the game, I have no useful input.
There we go. The other Dave has said it. Per Chat GPT, if you're -3 in turnover margin since 2000, you have a 16% chance of winning. Throw a pick 6 and you have a 13% chance. Combine them and you have a 10% chance of victory. Hashtag we still won. And we had a tight end running wide open, clear on the other side of the field that Malik Washington completely missed on that intentional grounding call, which was questionable to be intentional grounding in the first place. So we kind of dodged literally a really big bullet there. So, and that dude, I tell you what, Malik's the stuff, dude. That's probably, I don't know. I've heard some people say and other stuff I've listened to that might be the best quarterback Nebraska's going to face, better than anybody else we're going to face for the rest of the season. So
now with Drew Aller out,
yeah,
maybe Jaden Mayava.
Yeah, Mayava's pretty good, no doubt about it. So, well, I want to circle back. You know what? I meant to say this when we were kind of talking about the good. I apologize for this, guys. I do want to kind of point out Isaiah Hunter is 125 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns, including an identical screen pass for a touchdown that he caught early in the game, which again had Elijah Pritchett running 20 yards downfield blocking on a bum ankle, and Justin Evans just blowing a dude up to open that hole up. So shout out to Isaiah. I think they clocked him at 24 miles an hour. Is that what I read the other day?
I think it was
a little bit quicker than he did when he had one shoe. So.
I can't remember actually off the top of my head what it was.
But
I imagine it was faster with 2 shoes.
For sure.
Probably.
A little more traction.
For sure. All right. Let's jump into the Game Ball Awards. Scott and I went with the obvious call. We went with Emmett Johnson. It's hard not to with 176 yards plus. I think he had just about 200 yards of total offense for the day because he had a few yards in the receiving as well. So shout out Emmett, Scott, and I. Appreciate you, dude. That was an incredible game. Hope there's more. Dude's on his way to 1,200 yards, 1,000 to 1,200 yards for the season. I'm not sure I thought he was going to get there. So I'm pretty happy. And then Coach BA said Coach Matt Rule. I like that pick as well because that was a pretty well-managed game. And then, of course, Justin, you have
Mr. Dane Key catching the game winner. Talked about it all offseason that Dane Key was going to be the guy that we go to when we need a completion. He is that guy. He is the guy who's going to be able to create separation on those little short routes. He is the most NFL-ready receiver on this team. And I said he may open up other guys like Isaiah. They may end up getting more yards than him, but Dane Key is the receiver on this team that you want to go to. You look to on first down, on third down, and in the red zone. Yeah. And he's proven that time and time again. He is a sure-handed guy, and he steps up and makes plays when he needs to.
Mm-hmm. I know for me, I'd sure like to see him. I have no doubt he's probably been shut down by other defenses. They're like willing to take the poison of somebody else as opposed to Dane Key. 100%. But now they're going to have to pay an awful lot of attention to Hunter too. So that should free him up. Anyway, Emmett, God bless him. What a great effort. That run, especially that we showed there at the beginning on the video. Levi and I couldn't believe what we're watching. We're jumping up and down going, he's going to score. And then a bunch of dudes are diving around his feet and he's still jumping around. It's just an incredible effort. Yeah. So there we go. That's our Game Ball Awards. That pretty much covers the Maryland recap. I've got a few, or at least one slide here real quick I want to throw up there just for you guys to see. Says Adam Carricker posted this short of right after the game. He said, since there's nothing else to talk about on Sunday, I think he posted this in any way, shape, or form whatsoever, let me point out that we have a ranked 5-1 football team. Also, I'm sick of losing to Minnesota. Well, so are we, Adam. And we're going to talk about the differences between Minnesota and Nebraska right now. So moving on to our Minnesota preview, I've got some stats up there that are obscured by some things. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. I meant to do that earlier before I jumped into this. So, Minnesota preview. All right, there you go. Those are the comparisons between the special teams, the defense and offense, and how they match up to one another. For me, the numbers that jump right off the page is the Minnesota offense averaging 112 yards per game and Nebraska's defense giving up an average of 151. And I know it's not the typical Minnesota team. It's not the typical team that runs for 180 to 200 yards a game, but maybe this is the game that they can establish that run. I don't know, but that's the first number that jumps out at me. You guys looking at those numbers, anything jump out to you? Anything you see there, Justin, that say, yep, that pretty much matches up how I think this game is going to go?
Well, one thing I will say, Minnesota, and I had a Minnesota guy on earlier on my channel, and he alluded to this as well, talking about how their game script really isn't allowed for them to get behind a lead and really run the ball like they've been kind of playing from behind at times and throwing the ball a lot more. So there's a potential that they could invest in the run game a lot more. Another thing to point out too is their them on third down. So their third down defense sits at 42%. So that, may be an issue against Nebraska if Nebraska's finally able to get, third down conversions. And then Minnesota, while they converted 36% on third down, again, a lot of situations they've been in third and long, but they just have not been good on third down this year. And since I mentioned that as something that I wanted to be a focus and something that was an issue last week, I'm hoping that would transpire into this week, and we can get off of the field on third down, try to put them at third and longs. But outside of that, I mean, they got a young quarterback. They're starting to be a little bit more efficient throwing the ball, but not a ton of offense. As like throughout the season, it's just getting better as they've gone along. So this could be, one of those moments. That's why Minnesota's a little scary to me, because they got a young freshman quarterback and he is kind of, finding a little bit of rhythm. They are hopefully not finding that balance in the offense around the same time we are. But PJ Fleck, another thing too. Alibaba, who's on my channel, talked about this. PJ Fleck loves to coach against Nebraska, and he loves to coach against teams when he's an underdog. So it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out. But I think our secondary, again, I think they got a young quarterback, and I think our secondary can cause some problems. But Minnesota is a team, they are not penalized a lot. They do not get a lot of penalties. I think they're top 15 in penalty yards in a good way, not in the bad way. And they don't turn the ball over a ton. So this is going to be one of those games where we need to protect the football, find that balance in our offense, and just really play smart, fundamental football. And I think we can go in there and cover this spread. But I'm going to say, just because Minnesota to me is a dogfight, it's going to be a close game, but I think there's the potential there.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Kicking outside of 40 yards, by the way, they can't kick outside of 40 yards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wondered about that.
They might even just be going for it within 40 yards.
Okay. So for those of you who are listening to the audio podcast, I'll just run through some of these numbers real quick. The Minnesota offense averages 228 yards per game passing. Nebraska's defense averages giving up 118, which is number one in the country, as well as number one in the Big Ten. 112 yards per game is what Minnesota rushes for. Nebraska's giving up 151. We've diametrically reversed those two stats this season versus last season. Scoring, Minnesota scores 27 points per game. Nebraska's defense gives up 18, and their total offense is set at 341 yards per game, and Nebraska's defense is giving up just under 270. As for the Minnesota defense, they're giving up 200 yards per game in passing, where Nebraska is throwing at a 310 yard per game clip. Rushing 108 yards per game is what the Minnesota defense is surrendering each week, and 140 is what Nebraska has generated. Big help, big shout out to Emmett again this last week for helping pump that number. You need to pump those numbers up, as they say. Scoring 21 points per game is what Minnesota's defense is giving up. Nebraska's scoring at a 41 points per game clip. 308 total yards per game given up by their defense, whereas Nebraska's generating 450 on offense. The special teams, is definitely notable, especially when we're looking at punt returns. We all know how good Ja'Cory Barney has been this year. Minnesota has not been good returning punts. They've only got a total of 82 yards. Now, they're pretty good at stopping the punt returns, so they've only given up 61 yards in punt returns, whereas Nebraska has generated 266 yards on punt returns and have allowed their opponents a cumulative total of -1 yard. Kick returns are pretty even. They're they're returning at 185 yards total for this season. Nebraska's at 288, and opponents are kicking the ball, returning for 57 yards so far this year against that Minnesota special teams unit, and Nebraska has given up 223. So could be interesting watching the special teams, but as you said, Justin, and pointed out, they do struggle with kicking field goals outside of 40 yards. I did not really look at any of the field goal statistics, but I just kind of wanted to get an overview of the matchup of the two teams based on just statistics. And that's it. I mean, for me, the other thing that obviously stands out is how good our punt return or our punt coverage unit has been. Never hurts that you're putting a lot of pressure on the punter too. So pretty cool stuff. Any more thoughts on those numbers?
One thing to add too, there is a potential that Raiola might get some time to maybe extend some plays in the pocket. Minnesota has been good at getting pressures, been good at getting sacks. I know we can relate to that. So that is something to pay attention to as well.
Yeah, Williams Nwaneri has 14 quarterback pressures in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, he's been pretty good at getting pressure. I'd like to see him get home a little more often for sure. So we'll see what happens this week as far as that's concerned. Moonbot says, I think we match up well against Minnie. I'm expecting a double-digit win and over after the third quarter. Your expectations are high, Moonbot.
I love that.
Hey, I would gladly.
I want what he's drinking.
So,
yeah, I'm
up to a Jackson.
Nice. Bear Jackson.
Good for you,
Nice.
TBR, and we beat Minnesota 31-17. I like the prediction. I like it, Dave.
I like it.
Go to your car show, and we don't feel betrayed at all. It's okay.
Yeah.
So,
I think when I'm looking at these stats, I think the key is going to be, can we get Emmett Johnson to produce at a high level? He's kind of at this point. I mean, the stat to really point out in our rushing game is that we are ranked 92nd in the country for rushing yards per game, but Emmett Johnson ranks 8th out of all running backs in the FBS. So that shows how much on the shoulders we are putting our running game on Emmett Johnson. And so this game, we're going to need that. Looking at these stats, kind of like what Justin said, like Minnesota hasn't been able to do exactly what their talent would benefit them to do throughout the season. So we got to play to our strengths, and we got to be efficient with our strengths. We can't have an aspect of our game that we have been really good at so far this year and have a slump game in any of those respects. We got to be good on special teams. We got to be good with Emmett Johnson. Dylan Raiola, for the most part this year, hasn't been as incident prone as he was in the last game. So we got to see the pretty normal Dylan Raiola. Our receivers got to show up. Our secondaries got to show up. We just got to have a game where everybody shows up and does what they've been good at this year. And I think that those stats will end up looking basically the same. Comparatively, we match up well against Minnesota in almost every way. So can we actually see it?
All righty. Let's jump into keys to victory. If you were to pick one or two things that Nebraska needs to do well to win the game, starting with you, Scott, what would it be?
Yeah, I think it has to be Emmett Johnson. And if I could have a prayer is can Isaiah Mosey step up behind him? It is Mekhi Nelson. Who can we get that can actually take a little bit of weight off of Emmett Johnson's shoulders? We haven't seen it this year so far, so I don't expect it, but there's always that one fluke game. I swear there's always that one fluke game where another guy just steps up. Can it be this game? So I think our ability to be three-dimensional, we got to have a good passing game, we got to have a good running game, and we got to have good special teams. I think it definitely depends on the running game. We got to have Emmett Johnson produce. We need it.
All right. For me, the key to victory, I have a feeling this offense will be fine. I believe Emmett's going to rush for over 100. I think Hunter's going to have another good day. Dane Key might get a little bit more free than he's been. I look for Dylan to not repeat the same mistakes with the ball that he did this last week. My key more than anything is, can this defense get pass pressure? Can Williams Nwaneri get home instead of just create a lot of pressures? I know that pushes a young quarterback into mistakes, but it'd be really nice to put him on his backside a few times too. Even if he's gotten rid of the ball, get there in time to still knock him down would be awesome. So I'd like to see this defense create pressure. I'd like them to not give up 151 yards like they've been averaging this year on the ground. They sure did good against Michigan State. I'd love to see a repeat performance from this defensive line and the linebackers in the run game this weekend. So those are my keys to victory. Stop the run, create pass pressure. And they're pretty damn obvious, I know.
Yeah. Mine is when you get in the 20s, it's the game in the 20s, not between the 20s, in the 20s. Score touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Stop throwing the ball 3 times, first, second, third down. Had Dane Key not caught that second down pass, we were on our way to passing for the 6th or 7th time in a row in the end zone, like in that goal to go situation from the previous drive. We also threw and ended up kicking a field goal. So I just think we need to see a little bit more efficiency in the red zone offense there. Win that battle. Don't be taking 3. Got to go out and get 7, because if we turn this into, a battle of 3s and they start converting within the 20s, then it's going to be a problem. But we got to get much more efficient at scoring when we get down there.
All righty. I like it. I agree 100%. So bold predictions. If you have something that you think is crazy that might happen in this game, what would it be? Starting with you, Justin.
Double turnover didn't happen. Double turnover did not happen.
Didn't.
So let's say double turnover. Pushing it over to this game.
Double down on the double turnover.
Pushing over to this game. Interception. We throw an interception, we force a fumble, we get the ball back.
All right, cool. All right, one of these days that's going to come true. So.
I know, but I can't keep picking it after this week. 2 weeks in a row, that's all I got, and then I got to change it up.
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead, Scott. I'm trying to think of one. I've been trying to think of one all day.
I'm going to say a defensive lineman gets an interception.
Okay. Ooh.
And then trucks the quarterback. It'll look like Sue, but not quite like Sue, because there's no one that's ever going to look like Sue ever again. But I can't say never. But yeah, they get their hands up. Defensive line picks it off from the freshman quarterback because he's getting pressured and just YOLO balls it and doesn't work well. So that's my bold prediction. Defensive lineman interception, and then trucks the quarterback.
All right, I thought of one based on last week's performance, and I know that Emmett carries a chip on his shoulder because he was not recruited by PJ Fleck in any way, shape, or form. And I know he wanted to play there. He said it several times. So I'm picking Emmett to have a big game. I don't think he goes for 176. I think he goes for about 145, 150 yards, somewhere in there. A couple of touchdowns on the ground, and maybe a wheel route or a rail route for a touchdown as well. So I look for Emmett to have a big game, maybe 170, 180 yards of total offense between the run and the pass. So that would be my bold prediction.
It looks like
is feeling his oats, man.
Yeah, Moonbot says, Scott, you're gonna get your wish when I was talking about keys to victory. He's saying that offense, defense, and special teams will all get a touchdown. Friday's going to be a fun night. Well, hopefully with my defensive lineman getting an interception, trucking the quarterback, maybe he does end up in the end zone and it looks almost exactly like Sue. That would be pretty neat.
That'd be pretty sick for sure.
And then his bold prediction is Moonbot's bold prediction is Barney punt return touchdown. And by the third quarter, you hear the announcers say Minnie is collapsing. Yeah.
Not the typical PJ Fleck team. There's no doubt about that. It's not their typical run you over with their offensive line team that we've seen in the past. So very, very possible, Moonbot. Very, very possible. All right, let's jump on to score predictions, because we do have one more topic we're going to want to hit tonight before we call it a podcast. So
we do.
Yes, we do. We do. Just for
Has there been anything in the news?
There might be something that's on Husker Nation's mind that maybe we should address. But there you go. There's our score predictions. I've got 37-24 Nebraska covering the spread, mainly on the back of Emmett Johnson's big game. Scott, you've got 34-17. I like it. Doubling them up.
Yeah, I think it ends up kind of like what Justin pointed out earlier when we were talking about stats and Minnesota's strengths. I think if we play to our strengths, it bodes very well in our favor, and I think it puts Minnesota in a very tough place where they can't play to their strengths because our matchup to them is just it's just a good matchup. So I think it's a game that then you got to couple that. You've got to couple that with what we did against Maryland. I agree with what you guys have said so far. I think that kind of win is something that like truly shakes off that little devil on their shoulder, always whispering, saying, you're going to find a way to screw it up. You're going to find a way to screw it up. That was the most proof to our guys that they can win games if they want. It doesn't matter what goes wrong. They just know they're going to find a way to win. And so they're going to go into Minnesota with a completely different mindset, one that's unprecedented for any person who's been on this team since the beginning. Yeah, I think it's a good game. I think Nebraska comes out and wins 34-17 convincingly. It's a Big Ten game, so there's going to be some downs, and we're going to be like, but ultimately the scoreboard's going to look pretty good in our favor.
Yep, and Coach has got it at 38-10 that Nebraska wins by 4 tutties. Apparently he's looking for a really big performance from the defense as well as efficient offense. So, and then Justin, you're the one in the group tonight that's a little more pessimistic on the score.
Yeah, I mean, I've been picking us to cover, and we haven't. So maybe if I do the opposite, we'll cover. No, but just I have thought this game was going to be a dogfight. Nikitown's a tough place to play, man. It's a very underrated place to play. So I think it's going to be. I think we might be in for a dogfight, but I hope to be wrong. I hope we cover. But again, we have not covered, so I'm not going to continue to predict that we're going to cover. I just since the season started, I've circled this game as a game that I thought was going to be tough for us. I think Minnesota is doing a lot of things that they normally do well in terms of not getting penalized a lot, not turning the ball over a ton. And I think those things will keep this from getting away from them. I think they're able to stay consistent enough to keep this game fairly close. And but hopefully I'm wrong, and I hope Coach B is right.
Sounds like a plan, boys. Well, that pretty much wraps up our our Minnesota preview and all the official football stuff we wanted to talk about tonight. I got just a few more tweets I wanted to show that kind of cracked me up. As usual, Elijah Herbal at Herbal Essence.
Oh, James Franklin got fired?
Yeah. On the day that he got fired, he said Penn State has fired James Franklin, and he said Deion Sanders, welcome to Penn State.
Oh, man, that would be funny.
That's such a gaslight.
I know. Elijah, you got to follow him. If you're watching and you're not following Elijah Herbal, you need to, because he's gold.
So he's got the quips.
Yep.
I'm not usually a field storming police, but Colorado stormed the field with a losing record against Iowa State.
Yeah, weird.
You have a losing record.
Yeah.
Iowa State.
It's Iowa State.
So let's see here. James Franklin pulled out the Penn State football program out of the mud, and I'm forever grateful for that, but he was not going to win a national championship here, ... And then Elijah Herbal says, remember when Nebraska fans said the same exact thing with Bo Pelini, and then they went and hired Mike F. and Riley. And I think the they he was referring to was the administration, not necessarily the fans. He wasn't referring to us.
Yeah.
But I thought that was funny. And I did reach out to him and tell him I was using the tweet on our show today, and he said he was honored. So he thought that was pretty cool. So James Franklin, Husk Guys, at Husk Guys on X. James Franklin won 10-plus games 6 times, including each of the last 3 seasons. Last season, Penn State won 13, and he's fired. Is this Penn State's Bo Pelini moment? Which I thought was a very poignant tweet. And then one more. Penn State football says, thank you for everything with a graphic. It was like, I mean, talk about not being that's just kind of stupid, don't you? I mean, John Bishop's like firing a guy who had you in the top 5 3 weeks ago is a hell of a way to thank a guy.
Dumb decision.
Dumb decision. Yeah. So that is the lead in to the topic we want to talk about.
I have to say, there's a tweet that I saw, and I can't remember who it is. It's some parody account where it's some person, their persona is some old lady. So if you guys know what I'm talking about, please let me know. But it said, James Franklin is the Nick Saban of Bo Pelini's.
Yes.
That's funny. He's the best Bo Pelini.
He's the
I was like, oh, that's clever.
Best coach to never win a big game.
He's the like Nick Saban of Bo Pelini.
State that took a blocked field goal to do it. Oh my. So that brings the question with the Penn State opening and the fact that Matt Rule, that's his alma mater, will coach go to Penn State. So and I can't answer that. I can't provide any insight based on what Rule has said about it in any of his press conferences other than clips that I've seen because I haven't watched them. I don't like trying to read body language, number one. I don't like trying to speculate on stuff inside a guy's head based on what he says. I'm just not that type of person. I would rather wait to get the news. Then we can talk about it. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't see why he would leave. I don't see why a guy who his son's a sophomore at UNL. His wife has just opened a business. They just bought a house, I think, this last year. They've settled in. And I'm not sure if the alma mater and the fact that the guy he replaced came back to his alma mater and didn't do all that well. I don't know if Rule's the guy that Penn State would come after anyway, because he's got a similar record against ranked opponents as James Franklin did. So I'm not sure that would be a move Penn State would make in the first place. But anyway, that's my thoughts on it. Go ahead, Justin. I know you covered it somewhat on your show as well. If you just kind of give a little synopsis of what you said there and what your thoughts are on it, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. So my thing on it is this. It's very easy. And I said on Twitter, Matt Rule's not leaving. And if people are like, how do you know this? Of course I don't know this. I was just stating my opinion, right? Like, I don't think he's going anywhere. And then I also said, I think he's leaving people are the biggest scumbags because, like you said, reading body language and like Matt Rule was very careful to not give anything in that answer because people wanted something in that answer to run with. And he didn't give them that. And people are still picking it apart. And this is the damned if you do, damned if you don't. They're like, well, why didn't he tell us this? Well, if he would have said that, y'all would have ran with it. If he would have said this, y'all would have ran with it. He said nothing and y'all still ran with it. So like, of course he's not going to give you anything. You look what you're doing with what he didn't say already. Secondly, the biggest thing here is we're trying to connect the top dots, right? Alma mater, Penn State, Matt Rule, job opening, right? But all the nuances completely gone. So we're talking about, Kraft being over, the AD over at the athletic director over at Penn State, being his best friend. Well, he was also the athletic director over at Temple and signed Matt Rule to an extension right before he left to go to Baylor. He was signed through 2021, and he left his best friend that he just got hired as the athletic director, helped get hired as the athletic director at Temple, to leave to go to Texas. And when he made that move, Kraft said he had to do what was best for him and his family. Mind you, Temple, 3 hours from State College, Pennsylvania, Matt Rule's home. If it was in his best interest and his family's best interest to leave Temple, which is, mind you, the only place he has ever said was his dream job. The only place. He never said Penn State was his dream job. Okay, so if he was willing to leave that and do what was best for his family to go over to Baylor and leave home and leave his best friend who just signed him to a lot of money because he was doing what was best for his family, what makes you think then that he's going to leave what he has in Nebraska to go back over there? He has said time and time again, and you've alluded to this, he wanted to come where his family was going to be able to build. And right now, like you said, his son's enrolled, his wife has a business. Not only that, there's stability at Nebraska. He has started to build something. He has the facilities. He has the donor base. You run the risk. If you piss off the donor base over at Penn State or the fan base, you have to have not only the AD in on this, you have to have all the donors in on this. This isn't his only decision. Your donors have to fork out the money for this coach, right? So he has to do some convincing to those guys that this is the guy for the job. Okay, so all of those stars have to align. And right now, Penn State fans are not on board with Matt Rule being the coach there. If you've seen kind of their comments.
No, they're not. Yep.
So what makes you think that every single donor is all of a sudden going to fork out all the money for this guy who hasn't won the big games when he says he wants to make a splash hire, and a guy who has proven to win in the big games? Again, it's a risk for Matt Rule to potentially upend the foundation he has here and what he's building here to go to a place that may X him out if he does not win more than 9 or 10 games in the next couple of years. Is that a risk he's willing to take to leave this, to go to State College, to play at his alma mater, with the risk that if he knows if he doesn't win the big game, he's potentially fired and then he's out of a job? Then where's the stability for his family? Then what? Then he's got to potentially move somewhere else and not end in a bit of worse job. There's so much more to this other than alma mater job opening. Look at Tony White last year. We had the same reaction when the UCLA job opened. We're like, Tony White's gone to UCLA. Did he leave to UCLA? No, he signed a contract extension in the offseason, right? It was his alma mater. Everybody was convinced Tony White's leaving. And they ended up getting Deshaun Foster, So there is so much more nuance to this that people aren't even thinking about. And it's just kind of frustrating to me because this is a good team and we have a great season to focus on. And the results of this season still matter in that regard too. Yeah. Matt Rule comes out. Think about it this way. Every place that he's willingly left, he has finished his business there. He built it up and he did what he set out to do. He turned the programs around. He has not done that at Nebraska. His job's not done here. So what makes you think he's going to leave the job unfinished? Carolina let him go before he had the opportunity. He's never willingly left a place that he hasn't got to where he said, this is where I wanted this place to be. And he said he came back to college because he's done a lot of great things in his career and he loves just coaching these young kids. It's not necessarily about, where he has no desire. He's never stated he has a desire to go over there and do that. So I'm sorry I'm being long-winded here, but there was a lot of things that I want to get off my chest with this. And I hope that all kind of makes sense. And I hope that kind of gives some people a little bit something else to think about.
Yep.
Works for me. How about you, Scott? What do you think?
Yeah, I think you structure a really good argument. I'm in the camp of I don't know, and I really don't. I guess I don't really care either way what his decision is, because no matter what, he's going to make the decision that's best for him and his family. I know that Dylan Raiola, I think it was somebody came out today and basically said, he's not leaving because his wife is very happy here. So, and Rule basically alluded to the same thing. I'm not going anywhere that my wife doesn't want me to go. So, it's more evidence points to him staying. But yeah, I think people were still rightfully concerned then with how he handled the interview. But then again, looking back,
I think he handled it perfect.
I think Matt Rule is the kind of guy where he always puts troubling emotions on his face. I don't know if that's his ADHD. I don't know if that's just who he is. I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much on his, like, I don't want to psychoanalyze him too much, but yeah, I mean, I still found a little bit of it troubling. I mean, I'm a body language guy. I don't care what people say. I care how they say it. I didn't like that he was looking down a lot. That's pretty indicative of somebody who's holding back the full truth. But to your point,
with
Justin,
body language is so hard because body language has to come in clusters. It can't be one specific, because this is the problem when we start to analyze body language is we start to really draw false conclusions because we're over analyzing every small detail, like looking down and to the right, like that's an indication, or doing this with your lips is indicating you're withholding the truth, like doing this while somebody else is talking, that's indication. Like, but body language happens, it has to happen in clusters, and that's why it's so hard to gauge.
Yeah, it's like a forensic psychologist isn't going to base a person's guilt based on a 5-minute interview with a suspect. Like, they need hours and hours of footage of their body language, of how they respond. And then the other part that I didn't like was he was speaking in a lot of past tenses, speaking in the sense of, when I came to Nebraska, I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that. And in previous interviews, I went through a couple of them, and he speaks in the present tense. So I don't like that necessarily, but I'm not saying that this is evidence that he's going to leave. I just don't think that we can say for certain that he's going to stay.
Wouldn't it only make sense for that to be the case if he was for sure leaving, though? Because, like, in his mind, he hasn't even been, you know what I'm saying? Like, it'd be another thing if, like, he was withholding that information and then that was subtly coming out, but there's no contact yet or anything like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like
I think the best explanation is that he's at least tossing around the idea in his mind.
He has to. I think he's smart.
And so those body language things, I think, are more indicative of, well, internally, I am actually considering this. It is my alma mater. I do have people there that I love and care about. And there's a pattern of what I've done in the past, but I'm a person. I can make my own free will decisions. And I love Nebraska, and I love everything about Nebraska. But I also, you know, like I said, I don't want to psychoanalyze too much, but there's a lot of factors that could go into his decision-making process. And to play devil's advocate here is, you know, he's never actually stayed at a place for the long haul yet.
But he's always completed his goal, and he hasn't done that here yet.
Yes, but I don't know if he would have explicitly stated, "Hey, Baylor guys, I'm going to get you guys to a 10-11 win season, and then I'm dipping out of here." Like, that was never his stated goal. His stated goal was, I'm going to build a program that's going to last. And then he had an interview where he said, I'm here to stay.
Right.
This is my place. This is my home. And then a few months later, he's in Carolina.
That was finished business. And this way, and another thing too, it's, if you look at that, because I went and read the entire article of when he left for Carolina, and actually he turned down Carolina a lot. David Tepper said he had to be extra patient, to the point where people thought he was being crazy with how patient he was being to go after him. So even that, to get him to go from Baylor to the NFL, took a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And Penn State is not a job where you're going to have to sit here and convince somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. No, Penn State's it's comparing apples to oranges. It's an entirely different situation than I think any other situation that Rule's been in at thus far. So I'd say I'm 80-20 right now. I think there's an 80% chance he stays, and there's still that 20% of me that goes, yeah, he could probably leave, but maybe that's just my trauma, you know, like I just can't ever have stability, and I haven't experienced in my lifetime a stable Husker program. It's always an up and down. And so I'm not allowed to have nice things. So, you know, I'm going to always keep in the back of my mind that, yeah, there's a chance Rule could leave. But coincidentally, I was sitting there at work. We were all shop talk with the boys. And I was laying out all of my reasonings why Matt Rule is going to stay. And it's all the reasons we're talking about right now. And then I see that interview over lunch, and I come back and I'm like, well, I'm not as confident as I used to be.
I was the opposite. I thought he handled that interview exactly like he was going. And with ADHD, I can tell you what, I can't keep my eyes straight forward because I will lose my focus. So I'm looking all over the place. If y'all try to analyze where my eyes go to whether I was lying or not, you ain't going to see me look you in the eye one time. I'm going to be looking everywhere else because as soon as I look at you in the face, I'm going to get distracted by something on your face and I'm going to lose my train of thought. So I have to keep my eyes.
Oh yeah, Matt Rule is very ADHD. He's got, you can see the whites of his eyes 24/7. It's he is beating.
I just think there's a lot of actions that he's had over the course of many, many years that we can point to as opposed to a microcosm of an interview in a couple words.
Yeah.
You know, that's my
There's way more evidence for him staying than there is him leaving. 100%. 100%.
So what do you think of all the speculation? At least, and we know X is a cesspool. Twitter's a cesspool. It's everybody. You've got either he's leaving, he's out of here, folks, or you've got to me, the bigger scumbags are the people that are like, oh, he's just going to hold Nebraska hostage for all kinds of cash. Otherwise he's out, or this, that, or the other. To me, I'm not that cynical. I'm like, I think if anything, he's probably going to say, hey, we need to up the NIL game.
Yeah.
He mentioned that very, very, very clearly.
He's going to leverage this
out there
for football money, not his money.
Yeah.
Right. He may get a bump in pay just because we appreciate you and we want to go ahead and give you this bump. But I guarantee you his fight is going to be for more money from the donors to put towards the football team.
Yeah.
Not in his pocket.
I agree.
And I like that.
I agree. Well, I think we're good.
Yep.
I think we've hashed out about as much as we can hash out. I appreciate both of y'all's perspective. I can see where both of you are coming from. I'm in the probably 80-20 category myself. 80% he stays, 20% he could go.
It's a fair percentage. I'd say I'm probably 90-10. Yeah, but
I got you.
Close enough. I mean, we're right.
Right.
I mean, honestly, neither one of us, that 10% is just us, my Kool-Aid.
Whatever. Let's psychoanalyze ourselves.
It's my
PTSD.
The Pedialyte positivity.
Yeah. It's the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Drinking my own version of the Kool-Aid.
All right, boys. Follow info. Where can we find y'all and all the stuff you do out there on the crazy interwebs?
You can follow me at Scott Genred Pod on X. Check out what I'm doing over there.
Follow me at _H-Town Husker and Nebraska Football, the voice of college football on YouTube, which most of you already have me over there. But if not, go over to Nebraska at the voice of college football.
Yep. Awesome YouTube channel. Can't go wrong watching your content for sure. You can follow our show as always, Facebook, X, and YouTube at Gen Red Pod. If you prefer your podcast in audio form only, just search for Generation Red on Apple, Google, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app, and you'll find us there. And the audio for this show will be available there tomorrow. Our website is genredpod.com, and our email is genredpod@gmail.com. You can go to genredpod.com, click on the link at the top of the page, and that'll take you to our merch page and grab some sweatshirts, t-shirts, all that kind of fun stuff with the new or the old school Generation Red logos. So this was a fun show, guys. I had a lot of fun tonight. It's always fun to cover a win. It's always fun to look forward to the next game instead of looking at it going, I just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we feel fairly certain that Friday night is going to be a good football contest between two good teams, one that's on the ascendancy and one that likely has a head coach that's looking for a way out of town. You know, so there we go. Anyway, for Scott and myself and Justin, thanks so much for watching. We are Generation Red. We are here every week to chronicle Nebraska's inevitable return to college football greatness, one podcast at a time, because there's no place like this place.
And Iowa's corn sucks.
And Matt Rule staying.
And Matt Rule staying. I like it. Because in Rule we trust. All right, boys. Go Big Red. We will see you next week.